Latest on Boeing following that mid-flight door plug blowout earlier this month. The company now says that it will pause work at its Seattle area 737 production plant tomorrow so that employees can attend workshops on quality. It says so-called stand-downs like this will happen at other sites over the next few weeks as well. Separately, Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun will meet with senators today in Washington. One of those lawmakers joins us right now. Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas, the lead Republican on the Commerce Aviation Safety Subcommittee. And Senator, thank you for being with us. This is an issue that's important on so many levels, from the safety of flights and consumers thinking about those things down to the very economy, because Boeing is so important to our national economy. What do you want to hear today from Dave Calhoun?
Well, I'm anxious for that conversation. I appreciate him coming to visit, and I would say that the goal here is to have him reassure me and others that they understand the challenges that they face, that I want to know what they learned from their meetings with their employees, both in Washington State and in Kansas, and I want to make sure they're listening to those employees. Often I think that that's a place we can learn how things can be improved. And I want him to know how seriously we take this issue. It's, my grandkids are on airplanes. My wife and I are on airplanes. Our kids are on airplanes. We want safety. And I would reiterate, while this is an important economic issue, none of this works in the aviation sector if the American public, the people who fly, don't have an appreciation and understanding that air travel is safe. So while I care about the economy and I care about the employees and workers at home in Kansas, their jobs are important to me. Those jobs are only long term if Boeing and their supply chain get their act together and Americans know it's safe to fly, because it is safe to fly.
Senator, it wasn't just the door plug, though. Then we saw video of a Boeing plane that was, I guess, in the Miami area with it looked like flames coming out of one of the engines. Yesterday, we heard about a tire popping off a Boeing plane here in the United States as well at a different airport. Is this enough for you to question the safety aspect of that?
Well, I assume there's certainly heightened attention to these kind of stories. But I would highlight that, look, there's two investigations, and I would point out a third investigation that's going on right now. One is NTSB. Their job is to find out what happened with the door plug and the Alaska airline when the door came off and the plane decompressed. There's a second investigation, and they're separate. They're different, and that is the FAA. So NTSB looking at the incident. The FAA, rightfully so, is looking at Boeing's manufacturing process in light of safety, its supply chain, what the problems are, and they're doing that because this is not just one incident with a Boeing airplane. So the FAA is taking this broad view of what needs to be done at Boeing and the supply chain and what we need to do for aviation safety. The third one, and this was evidence to me at a hearing we had with the chair of NTSB as well as the administrator of FAA last week. And then Congress has a role here to make sure that NTSB and FAA are doing their jobs. And is there something legislatively that needs to be done? And we have pending in front of the Senate right now the FAA reauthorization bill. So there's a perfect opportunity for us to do whatever might be short-term benefit to the safety of air travel. And in the long term, I would expect the committee, the Commerce Committee, the subcommittee that I'm the ranking Republican on, to take a look at safety in particular, and is there a bill addressing that as well? So NTSB, the FAA, and the United States Senate.
So is there anything that Dave Calhoun can say to you today to make things better? Or, it sounds like talk is cheap. Let's look at all these other things that you're going to be doing in these other investigations.
That's the answer. What you just said is, yes, there's reassurance that can be said with words, but the reality is that what we need to see is results and difference, and then a stamp of approval, someone outside of Boeing telling us that what Boeing has done to correct any problems is making a difference, and that would be the FAA and perhaps Congress. So it's an opportunity for us to make sure that he knows the importance of this issue, and I can't imagine that he doesn't. And this matters to our economy. It certainly matters to me in Kansas, where We are the air capital of the world in Wichita, and we supply lots of parts to Boeing.
I mean, we've seen this movie before, Senator. When would you say it's time to say, okay, we need a change here? I mean, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Oh, we're going to look at this. We're going to, we take this very seriously. But we really seriously have heard that. How many times would you say in the last 6 or 7 years? We've heard it 6 or 7 times.
Over and over, I would say, we've heard reassurances. And the question is there something about Boeing particularly, culture, process, oversight that needs to be addressed? And again, you always want to be reassured, but you never have that reassurance until you actually see the results and know the difference, and you know it as a matter of fact, not a matter of promise or opinion.
And it's always, well, the guy there is going to be able to fix it. We don't want to bring in a new guy midstream. But then there's something else happens, and it's still the guy. And then something else happened, and it's still the guy.
It is. I mean, we've seen lots of changes at Boeing in management. We've lived this. The MAX was a tremendously damaging issue to certainly the safety of Americans, our national economy, and the manufacturing process. Our country, I mean, we face tremendous challenges around the world. We need a manufacturing base that works, and aviation is at the forefront. We have lots of jobs and export lots of product. This is a huge component of our economy, and it comes home to Kansas to roost pretty quickly. And can I tell you that I'm a cottonwood, the state tree, roots are deep, and provides lots of shade.